Hello, everyone. This is John Jenkins again, and I wanted to bring a video to you on the subject of the problem of work. Now, uh, everyone should know that I am a lifelong conservative. I've been a conservative even when I even when I pretended to be a liberal, I was a conservative. I'm a different kind of conservative though, but I disagree with most conservatives. I'm very different from the average conservative. I was not born middle class. I'm not coming from a position of you know America is great because my parents had a lot of money, which is the which is a conceit of the majority of conservatives. Uh, but I am a conservative, and so this is going to sound a little bit strange coming from me. I've often disparaged people on welfare. Uh, I've always disparaged not people on welfare, but welfare itself as something that encourages laziness and destroys families. Even though I personally myself was raised on welfare, but that might not be a contradiction because as I've said before, in this country, United States, you see so many people just go to a Bernie Sanders rally. You see all these people with their iPhones, Samsung Galaxies, driving a Volkswagen Golf GTI, or I mean, even a smart car, you know, even a Prius, driving their own cars, smartphone, uh, well dressed, fashionable, and they're sitting there listening to an old Jewish man promise them welfare. And so in this country, you'll see so many people who have never experienced homelessness, who have never been on welfare, who were raised middle class, who are so gung ho about supporting the welfare state. Whereas on the other hand, you have people who uh, survived starvation, who were raised on welfare, who came from the projects, who have been poor all their lives, talking about no, we need to eliminate the welfare state. So it's really not a contradiction. This is the ebb and flow of the whole situation. I mean, most conservatives were born middle class, and that's their angle that they come at it from. But you know, mo- at least most of the people you see on YouTube who rail against welfare are people who actually experience it, who actually experience poverty in their lives. So, but the point of this video is the problem of work. I've always been an advocate that work is the solution to so many of our problems, but we're, we're getting to the point in at least American history where we might be coming to the end of work. And I did not coin that term. I heard it first from Jeremy Rifkin, whose book I read last year. The book itself was a great disappointment, but Jeremy Rifkin had a very thought provoking video on Big Think. That's where I first heard of him, and so he talked about the end of work and how gross world product is down. Uh, the magic of capitalism might be drying up, and we might basically we might be working ourselves out of a job, and I'm not going to take the liberal angle, which is that capitalism is slavery, uh, because the truth of the matter is that capitalism is just an economic system. However, slavery within capitalism, or slavery disguised as capitalism, is slavery, and that's my uh, that's my thesis for the problem of work. I should preface this by saying that if you are a person who would do anything for money, who would compromise your belief system for money, who would, you know, put your family's personal information on Facebook for money, then you are a prostitute, and there's no way around this. I mean, in many ways, you're worse than a prostitute because there are certain things that even a prostitute wouldn't do for money, which is identifiable. You can see that even prostitutes, there are certain things that they won't do for money, certain things they won't say for money. So if you are one of those people who would do anything for money, then you're worse than a prostitute. Uh, but the now that I've said that, the problem with work is that it puts even the definition of work. The physics definition of work is that if you ex- e- you exert energy on an object which moves you exert energy on an object which moves the object in the direction of the force that you exert on it. So basically, there's a box on a table. You put your hand on the box and you push the box, and the box moves forward. Now, if there's a box on the table and you push the box forward with your hand and the box moves backward, or the box doesn't move at all, then you are not doing work. That's the physics definition of work, which is the one that I subscribe to. But the traditional definition of work is that if you have a job that uh, if somebody from the employer class says that you have a job, then you have a job. Uh, so one of the designated employers, and you know the problem with that definition is that it puts the 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 impetus on the employer, on the designated employer, whereas you know there's so many things that you can do during the day that that would not qualify as work because it did not make that designated employer. It did not put $1 billion in the pocket of Google. It did not put $1 billion in the pocket of uh, Microsoft. I guess would be a good example. So if it doesn't make the designated employer, if it doesn't make the employer class richer and richer, then you're not doing any work. That's the problem I have with uh, uh, the definition of work as we see it. And there are plenty of people on you've heard it on YouTube who will say, "Look at all these people. I don't like these people on YouTube who upload videos at 1 p.m. because they should be working at a job." Well, uh, PewDiePie makes you know millions of dollars more per year than that critic will ever make in their entire life. And he does not have a traditional job. So, so the physics definition of work more fits with what work actually is than anything else. And when people say be productive, what they really mean is that if you're not making the employer class rich, then you are not productive. As in the work that you're doing, if your work does not make the employer rich, uh, then you're not doing anything of value. And that's absolutely wrong. The truth of the matter is that most of the most important work I've done in my life, and the most creative work I've done in my life, has been when I wasn't employed. And that gets into the problem with work is that it it dumbs humans down. The the technology revolution the technology revolution of the 1990s was supposed to create the was supposed to revolutionize society. It was supposed to take over from the places that it was supposed to be a helper for the the populace, to allow them to work less, work more efficiently, and things of that nature. And it has had the opposite effect. I will give that to the anti-capitalists. The technology revolution had the opposite effect, and that instead of the the computer being the helper to the human being, now the human being is just a helper to the computer. And you've seen it you've seen it in the job market nowadays. The jobs that are coming out that are replacing the old jobs are the kind of jobs that are instead of having a division of labor and letting the computer do all of the boring repetitive tasks. Uh, nowadays the jobs that are being made in our economy are uh, jobs that a computer could do better than a human being. The jobs the jobs that are coming now are even more replaceable by computers than the previous jobs that existed. For example, a cashier at a corner store. Uh, all the cashier does is put the produce in front of a scanner and then wait for you to uh, swipe your credit card. Now, I mean, we already had the self checkout lines and things of that nature, and the risk of if you if you discount the risk of theft, then a computer could do that whole job much more easily than a human being could do. Basically, what happens is that when computers are implemented, they take over, and the it takes all of the thought out of work. It takes all the human thought and human creativity out of work, and you know more and more decisions are made uh, through surveys, polls, statistics, uh, algorithms, uh, data mining, so that the computer task dictates exactly what you do. As in, if you're a CEO and the computer says the computer estimates that doing this deal will have this much will have 80% profit, and do another deal will have 65% profit. You have to choose the deal that has that the computer says to choose, or people will say that you are incompetent, and and the computers have taken over, and as we go on, pretty much every job you see will be more and more replaceable by computers because the computer takes the thinking out. We don't have to think if we're just looking at percentages and statistics. We don't have to think, and that's the problem with you know that's the problem with work today. And you know and there's also the problem of, as I said in the beginning, the first thing I said was that if you would do anything for money, then you are worse than a prostitute. And uh, but a prostitute has many redeeming qualities, but somebody who would do absolutely anything for money, I mean, there is no redemption. And so what I mean is that the ruling classes of society, the ruling ethnicities of society, they have an agenda. And if they control if they control who gets a job, if they control which companies make the most money, if they control, you know, who gets who gets to experience the American dream and who doesn't, then they can control your behavior by controlling whether or not you get a job. And uh, like I said, the most important work I've done in my life was when I was unemployed. And um, so the 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 point is that if you if you cannot if you cannot believe as you believe, if you have to compromise every value, every principle, and the example I was thinking of was Chick-fil-A, was that uh, uh, they they had there was this akin to a Red Scare. There was this era where people were. It was when Mitt Romney was running for president, and there was these witch hunts, chasing down successful people who donated to uh, traditional marriage traditional marriage organizations. There were these witch hunts. If you donated money to uh, any company that promoted traditional values, the various liberal organizations would vilify you and demand that you be fired from your job, demand that boycott your business. There was companies that would not. There were wedding companies that would not do business with gay couples, and lawsuits were filed and boycotts were initiated. So that's really on a small scale an example of the the effect of work, the negative effect of work and is that, you know, if the employer class, or you could say that the dominant classes of society, the dominant ethnicities of society, can control who gets to feed their families, then uh, they will manipulate society so that, you know, all they have to say is, if you want to uh, feed your family, you're going to vote and support this political party. But it's bigger than that. If you want to if you want to feed your family, you're going to support this global ideology, which gives me the majority of the power, and 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 and, and basically you could consign yourself to slavery. And the end of capitalism will be that people will look around and they will see that, you know, the majority of consumers only buy from the stupidest producers, or the most vulgar producers. The majority of consumers, of paying consumers, only want the lowest common denominator. And what will happen is that the intelligent consumers, who will be tired of prostituting themselves out, and compromising on their values and principles, and they will say, "I'm not going to waste my time selling to these stupid people with their lowest common denominator. If I just won't sell anything at all." And at that point, capitalism will cease. So I talked about the negative parts of work in this video. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the positives of welfare. So have a nice day, and